Perry talks a lot about cognitive development, and I use this a lot in my thinking about students and how they are in different places when they show up in your office for advising, and how some of them are ready to do this thing and some of them are not as ready. So Perry had really 9 stages that collapsed into 4 groupings. The first is dualism, that knowledge is out there, it's real, and answers are either right or wrong. And those who are in charge, advisors, for example, career counselors, should know, and they should tell us. So very often the student will present for career counseling and say, I want to take the test that will tell me what I should be, what I should do for the rest of my life. And they believe that that's knowable. And maybe if you have to take the test first, I take the test first, but you should be able to tell me that. Okay. The next step up from that, in terms of cognitive development, when we are out and banging around with the world long enough, we realize it's not as black and white as I thought it was. Some answers are not yet known, although I still think that eventually they are knowable. And because they're not known, everybody's opinion about this is pretty much equal. Relativism, the next step up from that, answers aren't right or wrong so much as just better and worse. Knowledge is relative, contingent, contextual. Oh, great. It's a complicated world, and in fact, they're right. It is a very complicated world. And then the 4th grouping of stages is what we call commitment within relativism. This is where we really would like students to be, is to be able to say, okay, there's probably lots of majors that would be okay for me. I got to pick one, and this seems to be a reasonable one for now, so I'll commit to that, recognizing that it's a commitment within this kind of crazy, always moving universe. So it is relativism, but I have to pick something, and I'm okay with that. But that could change. This is a pretty sophisticated level of thinking, and I'm going to guess that some of us in this room will be like, not me, not so much. Okay, so developmental lessons for advisors. Students develop a lot during college. They're not all developing at the same rate. They're not all at the same place. This notion of +1 staging actually comes more from the moral development literature, but that if we're trying to help students develop, if we're trying to goose them along a little bit, the way to do that is to kind of address them one stage ahead of where they are. So we're not going to be able to sit with a student who's very dualistic, very concrete about right and wrong, and coax them into commitment within relativism. They can't make that jump. You got to coax them up to the next level. And we do that by challenging them where they're at now and supporting them. Challenge, give them some support. And we're just trying to boost them along to the next level. The developmental perspective also allows us to attend to role overload and to role transitions and how important those are in people's lives. So you're sitting a lot of times with students who are maybe a returning student who, I'll just make it as complex as possible, is like late 20s, a couple of young kids at home, maybe even just got divorced and is trying to work and do all these different things, and their parents are sick, and so they're dealing with aging parents, so their role as son or daughter now is more important than it was for the last 10 years. Or even if you're just taking somebody who is right out of high school and is making the transition to college, moving away from home for the first time experiencing independence, and moving away from that real tight role as the son or daughter. All those transitions are huge in terms of the images that we have about ourselves in the future and in the present, and how safe that feels. So people can get freaked out pretty easily, even for what seems to us to be a fairly straightforward and simple transition. So part of what the takeaway message from this is that there's a huge emotional component for people dealing with these issues, because they seem so life or death. I've got to get it right, and if I don't get it right, this is going to be awful, and I'm going to be years behind and maybe never get caught up. So just the emotional piece that people bring into the room with them, when it seems like it's just such a straightforward thing of all you got to do is pick a major. It's not that. That's like I'm mapping out the rest of my life, and it's going to go wrong, and it'll be awful.